I couldn't tell you how many books I've read on witchcraft, the occult, tarot, and such things in my life. Many of them. And absolutely, I couldn't rank them from best to worst. They all had something good, and some of them had a lot of great things in them. So many books. Some books I read once, other books come round and around again. Last year and the beginning of this year, 4 books have touched me, and I'd just like to talk about those 4 books in this video today. This is Sigil Witchcraft by Laura Tempest Zakroff. She is a wonderful artist, a great witch, and a wonderful teacher, and amazingly creative. She created her new form of making sigils. In this book, you can learn a great way of doing magic. Her ideas and her designs are fantastic. But the best thing about this book is she encourages you to be really creative and make something for yourself. You don't have to follow exactly what she says. You can create what you want. But having said that, if you're not that kind of creative person, there's lots that you can follow in this book and still create amazingly good magic. It's really well written, really interesting to read, and most importantly, it motivates you and energizes you and just makes you want to do this stuff. It's great. I recommend it. This is Welsh Witchcraft by Mhara Starling. If you're not from the UK, you might wonder why Welsh witchcraft. Isn't all British witchcraft the same? Since living in Japan, I've met so many people who don't understand that the UK is 3 separate countries. Scotland, England, and Wales are completely different. Culturally, and especially with Wales, linguistically and magically. I first went to Wales when I was 5 years old. And even at that time, I knew I was in a different place, a magical place, somewhere special. The great thing about this book is the author tells us so much about Welsh folklore, about Welsh traditional witches, what witchcraft meant in Wales, and how witchcraft can be done in a Welsh way now in the present day. She has a beautiful way of writing, and it's just a fascinating book. If you've been to Wales and you read this book, you'll want to go again. If you've never been to Wales, you'll want to go for the first time. I lived in Japan for many years, and if I upped sticks and went somewhere else, it would be to Wales. And whenever I look at this book, I want to go to Wales. I especially recommend this book if you want to diversify your knowledge of witchcraft. It's such an interesting and refreshing look at witchcraft, looking at it from a Welsh perspective, from Welsh folklore to Welsh practice. I highly recommend this book. This is Madeline Miller's Circe. Circe is a Greek goddess. This is a novelization of a Greek myth. Generally, Greek myths are handed down in a patriarchal form, in a male voice anyway. But this is a woman's retelling of the tale of Circe. Circe was the original witch. This is a really exciting, interesting, and thought-provoking novel. I read this novel very quickly and very eagerly. It's a great novel. And if your form of witchcraft is a form of witchcraft which has a spirituality, which has goddesses within it, then this will be a very interesting read. And the final chapter is amazing. But you must read the whole book for that final chapter to really resonate. It's fantastic. It's not a book on how to be a witch or witchcraft in general. It's about a Greek goddess who was a witch. And it's amazing. Probably the best book I've read this year. Well, actually, I didn't read it this year. It's the best book that I read last year. If Circe was the best book I read last year, this is the best book I read 3 decades ago. It's actually 2 books put together. The original books were called 8 Sabbats for Witches and The Witch's Way. But it's now an omnibus version, and it has the title A Witch's Bible. I don't like this title. I don't like this word Bible. But at least it's got a and not the. I wish it had a different title. But having said that, I love this book. This book is the book where I learned most about Wicca. If you're interested in Wicca or you practice Wicca, then this is a great book. You can learn a lot from it. I know a lot of people don't like Wicca, and that's fine. You don't have to read it. I'm not recommending that you read it. But for anyone who's interested in Wicca and how it was growing in the 1970s and how it was changing, this is great. And this influenced my practice so much. I'm reading it again for the first time in many years. And it's interesting. After all of these years of experience, it's interesting to see what parts of it still resonate for me. And a lot of it does. But also what parts no longer resonate for me. If you're interested in Wicca, I recommend it. But what I'm really recommending here is to go back to an old book that you haven't read in a long time and read it with fresh eyes. See how it feels after a few years or many years of experience. For me, this will always be a special book. I love it. Last year, I read a lot of great books, and they influenced me a lot and reminded me about many things that I'd forgotten. I highly recommend reading books on witchcraft if you are interested in witchcraft. Read something good. If you enjoyed this video, do all the YouTubey kind of things. Thank you. See you next time.